my fellow comic book collectors. It's Alan, the Comic Collector Geek, and this is the hottest comics of the week, and it's a hot list. It is a pretty cool list. We're going to start out with number 10, which is what I call the steal of the week, and it was stolen from me. It's like, I was like so frustrated. I forgot to bid. I was like doing something else, and I was watching it, and this comic, I missed it. I missed it by a minute. So this is Zoot number 13A. There was actually two Zoots. Zoot Comics had two 13s. They just made a mistake where they relabeled another Zoot as 13 as well. So this is the A cover. And it was from February of 1948. It's a great bondage cover. It also has like this snake wrapped around the girl. That's the bondage. And it's just like, action, and just, it's a great cover. It also has Matt Baker interior art. So just a whole bunch of things going for this book. Bondage cover, jungle girl, just so much going for this book. And I was watching it. I was ready to, I was gonna put a high bid at the last second, but I totally missed it. So, so I'm really upset about it. It was a low grade copy, actually. It was a 2.0 that sold, and it sold for $127.51. That sounds like a reasonable price. It's actually a record too. So even though it was a fairly low price, $127, the prior record for this book was $120. So it's up $7. And that was set last year. I don't know why this book didn't get super high pricing on it, but this is a book that right now, like pretty much a lot of these jungle books are really popular, like JoJo and Zoot and Rula. They're becoming fairly popular right now. So I actually expected this book to go for around $200. So to me, somebody that got it for $127, that was a steal. That was a really great price. So just one that I missed out on. I was so disappointed. There are 33 copies of this book on the census and 32 universal blue labels. Okay, number 9 on the list. This is actually a repeat book, and it's more me just following up. This is not a record, but it is one that I kind of wanted to mention again. This is Batman number 1, but it's a page from Batman number 1, page 28. This Batman 21 is a key book. Batman 1, I should say, is a key book. Page 28 is just it's a cool page because it has Joker on the page. It shows Joker like kind of grabbing an axe and like gonna chop somebody with it, and it's kind of cool. It's from spring of 1940. It's the first appearance of the Joker in Batman, or any, his first appearance. Also, it's considered to be the first appearance of Catwoman. She's referred to as the Cat. Now, I talked about this book in a prior video, the Hot List, and in that prior video, it had a sale of almost $800, like 1 penny shy of $800. It was $799.99. But what did it sell for this week? Well, it sold for $735. So it's actually down from that previous sale from just a couple weeks ago. And that previous sale was actually down from a prior sale. So this book is actually, this is like a 1 page from the Batman number 1. Well, it had a record sale back in 2021 for $8,408. So this is like really just keeps on dropping in terms of the value for this book, for this page. And it makes me wonder about how good of an investment pages are. I really don't know if it's something that the comic collector community has embraced yet. I don't necessarily believe that the comic community has embraced it. that buying single pages from comics. So what I'd expect is to see lots of fluctuation until people really decide whether or not they want to buy these key pages from key books. And that's what this is. Like, it's like, people are a little bit nervous about buying a page, and the bidding shows that. So $735, and that's down another 10% from the previous time I talked about this page. Okay, there are actually 141 universal blue labels on the census, and 296 altogether of Batman 1. There are 22 at a 0.5. So just so you know. Okay, the next, number 8 on the list. This is I Love Lucy, which is 4-color number 535. Now this is from Dell Publishing, and 4-color series actually had a lot of key appearances in it. Basically, Dell would get the rights to create the comic version of a lot of popular TV shows like Hardy Boys, I Love Lucy, Bonanza, just a whole bunch of like random shows, and they would get to publish them. And so a lot of these 4-color books had key first appearances, and I Love Lucy is one of those. This is from February of 1954. It's the first appearance of Lucy in comics. It's a photo cover, so people that love I Love Lucy would desire this book for that photo cover. This was a 4.0 sale, and it sold for $100, which seems actually fairly cheap to me. It's for a classic character in her first appearance, $100 seems like a good deal for 4.0. So actually, when I saw this, on my list, actually I picked up a copy, a raw copy. So yeah, I get FOMO for my own list. That's so funny. But the prior record, this is a record. This $100 sale is actually a record. The prior sale though was $78 back in 2013. So actually, this might have actually been a pretty good price to get it at $100. It's not that much of an increase. And $78 in 2013, that's 10 years ago. So you would have expected the price to go up even more. So I was actually a little bit surprised by how affordable this book was. There are actually only 22 universal blue labels on the census. So that's it. And it sold for only $100. Such a steal in my opinion, but it's actually a record. Okay, what do you think actually? Do you like these photo covers, for example, which a lot of collectors don't? And do you like these key kind of TV character first appearances? So I Love Lucy, 4-color 535. Next on the list, number 7 is Blonde Phantom number 14. And I actually own this book as well. This is a timely 1947 book. It has a really great cover with torture and bondage. It's not the girl getting tortured and bondaged, but it is the guy. And Blonde Phantom has to come in and rescue him. But it also has like so many other great features about this book. It has a Miss America story, has a Submariner story, it has a Namora backup story as well, and it also has a Frankenstein story. There's just so much going on in this book. It's a Sid Shores cover, and so just a really great book. This was a really, really high grade that sold. It was a 9.0 that sold for $2,880. So really high grade that sold for this book. Now, the prior record for this book was $2,868. So not that much of an increase. And it was from March of 2018. So just slightly gone up. It's like, $12 that it went up. I'm actually surprised that for 9.0, it really didn't have that high of a sale. I would have thought much more expensive, because Blonde Phantom is a fairly popular character. This is a timely character, like, I mean, Marvel timely. So I just would have thought, would have gotten a bit better sale. But still, it's a new record. Part of the reason this book actually, maybe kind of suffered in terms of its pricing is that there's actually higher grades on the census. There's a 9.8, there's one 9.8 on the census, and there's a 9.4 on the census. And then there's also two other 9.0s on the census. And when you have it where there's higher copies on the census, a lot of the time those are where the money will go. So a 9.0 kind of gets a little bit of a bad situation where the collectors that really want that high grade will go for the next best thing, where they'll go for that higher grade. But it's still great sale. So number 6 on the list this is a really interesting one. This is Large Feature Comics number 8. And this is from August of 1942, and it's by Dell Comics. It is actually the first Bugs Bunny story, or like comic, devoted to Bugs Bunny. So it's kind of considered to be kind of like Bugs Bunny number 1, even though it's Large Feature Comics number 8. So just a really kind of a key book for those people who like collecting Bugs Bunny. So this book was a 1.5 that sold, and it sold for $357, which is a record. It is actually a pretty strong record. The previous sale for this book, the previous high for this book, was set back in 2016 for $228. So this is a strong sale for 1.5. However, part of the reason why this book kind of went up, went up almost 50%, was there was a recent sale back in 2020 for a 4.0 for $780. So I guess people were kind of looking at that previous sale and kind of saying, okay, well, maybe the 300 range would be fair for this book. So it's a fairly rare comic. There's only 21 copies on the census, and of those, 17 are Universal Blue Label. So just a fairly rare book, kind of a big key for people that like those Looney Tune characters like Bugs Bunny. So just a really great sale, and that's number 6 on the list. Bugs Bunny number 1, or Large Feature Comics number 8. Okay, next one. Number 5 on the list is a pre-code horror book. It is Diary of Horror number 1. This is an Avon Comics book. It was from November of 1952, and it's a great one because you got these skeleton-like characters that are leading these women in the red dress, the typical trope of the women in peril, or the women in red dress, and they're in bondage as well. So it's just a really great cover. They have also not just skull heads, but also skull like lanterns that they're carrying, and it's just a great cover for the pre-code horror collectors, because you got bondage, you got girl in the red dress, you got skulls. Those are the kind of the big things, kind of like the almost zombie-like characters too. So just definitely one that pre-code horror collectors will go after. Now this had it was a sale for 2.0, and it sold for $550. The prior record for this book was $468 back in 2022. But it actually had a sale last month for this book for $312. So the book actually had like in 2022, it had a record of $468. Then it actually dipped to $312, and now it's gone back up again to $550. So it's kind of had a bit of a roller coaster, but it's up overall over that short period of time. There are 74 74 copies on the census and 71 universal blue labels. So this is a strong sale for a 2.0 copy of Diary of Horror #1. Just a great book, especially if you're a pre-code horror book collector. This is one to go after, and it's one that I have on my want list. So I was kind of looking for this book, and I missed out on it. Number 4 on the list is Adventure Comics number 210. Now, this is actually a really interesting book because it's from March 10th of 1955. Now, it's considered to be Golden Age, but it technically isn't, in my opinion. And this is my opinion. I'm going to explain my opinion on this one. This is actually the first coded, like for Adventure Comics, this is actually the first book to have the code on it. It's considered to be a Golden Age book, but it's still the first one to have that Comic Code Authority seal on it, which really marks the end of the Golden Age, in my opinion. It's also the first appearance of Crypto, the Superdog. So it's a major key, but I kind of wanted to explain that it's also this first coded book as well. It's a Kurt Swan cover as well. He did the cover pencils. And just so it's a great book. Any books in the DC line or even Marvel line that are from March of 1955, that's when the Comic Code Authority stamp was started to appear on books. So if you look for those March 1955 books, well, that's when the code appeared. Now, this book was a 1.0 that sold, and it sold for $850. So very low grade copy. I actually have I think mine's a 2.0 or 3.0, something like that. So this is a low graded copy, and it sold for $850. Now, the previous record for this book was back in 2021 for $720. So far we've seen a lot of modest growth books, like all slightly up. This one has 174 books on the census, and 152 of those are universal blue labels. So just a great book. I love these super pet characters, and this is probably the biggest of the super pet characters, which is Crypto. It's just, he's a pretty major character for Superman. And it's also cool that it is the first coded book. Next on the list is number 3, and it is Crime Mysteries number 8. This is a really great book. This is from Ribbich. It's from July of 1953, and it's actually an homage cover. So this is like an early homage. It's an homage to Champion Comics number 10, and it's just a great bondage cover, kind of like with peril as well, because there's like an explosion gonna maybe happen. So it's a great homage cover to Champion Comics number 10. It's also, the cover was done by William Zeller, and there are actually no prior sales for this book. So this is a record just for the fact that it's the first sale of it. This was a 4.0 that sold, and it sold for $624.99. Now, this is a strong sale, even though we don't really know what the prior records were for this book, because this is the first in grade. But what you can do is you can check other grades that are kind of nearby. It's not a book that sells very often. It's quite a rare book, actually. There's only 13 on the census, and 11 of those are universal. But there was a 1.5 sale back in May of 2022 for $222. So this is, much higher grade, sure, but it's about 3 times that prior sale for this book. So just a great book, cool homage, and great bondage cover as well. Good girl art, but it's a crime book, which is a little different. And yeah, just a great one, and fairly rare book. I wish I had picked it up. It was a really great deal that this person got, I think. Next book on the list, number 2 on the list, is a really great one as well. This is Moon, a Girl, Romance, number 11. And this is an EC title. So Moon Girl, she basically had a very interesting title. So her first title was Moon Girl and Prince, and it just kept on changing titles because they really couldn't figure out what to call this comic. Well, in this one, it became a romance book. So it went from superhero to romance, just all over the place. And this was by EC Comics. It's a great Al Feldstein cover. It's actually considered to be a classic cover. It's that typical ski lodge kind of thing where you got the girl and the guy by the fire, and it's like that typical romance book, which is kind of interesting. As I said, this was a superhero book only a couple issues before, so they totally changed the title. It only stayed a romance book for 4 issues. So from issues number 9 to 12, it was a romance title, and then it switched again. I forgot what it switched to. I think it went to maybe crime or something. It just kept on switching. But this was a really strong sale. This was for a 4.0, and it sold for $1,200. Now, this is a book, again, with no prior sales for it, so in this grade. So we don't know how this compares historically for this grade, but this was a strong sale because there was a 3.5 that sold, so half a grade lower, that sold for $528. So, and only a year or 2 ago. So this is a fairly strong sale, almost double that 3.5 sale. Now, there was part of the reason why I think this book kind of ticked up so much was there was a record sale for 4.5 back in February of this year for $1,800. So I think that sort of pulled up this lower graded copy because people were like, oh, well, it's only half a grade lower. Maybe it's close to that $1,800 price. So this sold for $1,200 for 4.0. Now, there's only 14 copies of this book on the census, and it is Al Feldstein classic cover, and a lot of people that collect Al Feldstein would go after this book. So just a great book, a Moon, a Girl, Romance, number 11. Number 1 on the list. We've made it to number 1. This is the big one, and we've sort of had these modest numbers all through this list, but this is a big sale. This is for Wonder Woman number 1. And it is from Wonder Woman number 1 is just a great book. Actually, I'm not sure if you can see it, but I have it somewhere behind me. Just a great book. I love this book. It's a H.G. Peter cover, and it's a William Marston story. It's the first time that you get Wonder Woman in the title of a comic, and it's also the first appearance of Ares. And it's also the first the retelling of the origin of Wonder Woman. So you get that retelling of her origin, you get this cool first appearance, and it's her first solo title. Well, not her first solo title, first titled comic, I should say, because Sensation Comics number 1 is her first solo series, I guess. Now, this book is a very interesting copy. It was a 0.5 grade that sold, and it sold for $17,000. That's the same as what I paid for my 7.5 restored copy. So you could have a 7.5 restored, or you could have a 0.5 Universal Blue Label, and it was for $17,000. This book is actually, considering it is a 0.5, it actually does present really well. The spine is completely split. but the cover itself presents well. Very bright colors as well. But it has a few major issues. Part of the reason the spine is completely split is it has brittle pages. But you know, that's kind of the trade-off for this book. And it's still actually, the other interesting thing about this book is it's a complete book. So the reason it was graded as a 0.5 isn't because of missing pieces, it's because of the spine being completely split, the pages themselves being split, and the brittle pages. So it's all about the page quality that brought it down into that 0.5 grade. So kind of an interesting thing there. Now, the previous record for this book in a 0.5 was set back in 2013. So a long time ago, 10 years ago. And at that time, you could have picked up a copy for $1,200, $1,275 to be exact. So this is up almost 10 times over a 10-year period. So that's pretty awesome. Now, there was a 1.0 sale, and the reason I want to compare this to a 1.0 sale, back in April of 2023, so last month, for $15,600. So this is actually a higher sale than even the 1.0, and that's a pretty major thing. And I looked at that 1.0 copy, and it actually presented reasonably well too. It's got spine splitting. It has similar issues, but it doesn't have the brittle pages. It's a better, you know, it does look like a better copy than the 0.5 one, but the 0.5 one sold for more. So just something interesting about this book. So that is it. That was number 1 on the list. This book, I actually didn't check the census for it, but it's a more common book for the Golden Age. Just a really great book, one that I personally own and love. And yeah, so it had a massive sale, 17,000, almost 10 times, actually more than 10 times the prior record. So just a really great sale. I hope you enjoyed this list. Please give me your feedback in the comments below. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, give me a like, all that kind of stuff. And thanks for watching. Bye for now.